This episode of Inside Golf Podcast is brought to you by Inside Sports Network.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Boston Capital Toodle, Steve, on the Hold the Green podcast.
All right, we are live. Tap in, birdie.
All right, Carson Young is here.
I bet Ludwig at 28.
Let's go. I bet
You
him
did
at,
too?
I bet him at 25.
Low sevens. I think there's some guys in here we like.
Harris English at 7,300.
I love Brian Harmon at 3.5% this week.
Hey, RB, welcome in. Victory Monday. How are we doing today on Monday of Wyndham Championship Week, the final event in the PGA Tour regular season? It went by so fast.
It did. Yeah, it feels good to have what could be our first joint winner of the year. I feel like you and I have been opposed a lot of the year.
We've been close.
And kind of stole this one out of nowhere, right? With a crazy weekend by Kurt Kitayama. But I think the leaderboard kind of panned out the way we anticipated. There was a lot of Stevens and Kurt and Jake Knapp in the Discord. A
lot of Akshay too, I would mention as well. Unfortunately,
lots of Akshay as well.
I had Akshay everywhere and really needed Akshay for my DraftKings lineup that I had in the mix to really pan out the way that I was hoping it to. Obviously, I have nothing to complain about with Kurt getting it home. But what was that Sunday like? Because I was driving, I was in the car. This is the second year in a row that this has happened to me for the 3M Open, where I've had an outright guy in the mix and I'm driving back from Oak Hill to get back into the city. And last year I stopped at a gas station to watch it and sweat it. And Jonathan Vegas ended up doing it. So I'm glad I stopped. And this year I said, I have such a storied history with Kitayama. I'm just going to keep driving. Yeah. There's no way that I will be happier if I end up watching this and it doesn't end up working out. And then I just turn my 5-hour drive into a 7-hour one. It seemed like it was kind of shaky, but ultimately he did what he needed to do to hold off a group of chasers.
Yeah, I mean, I felt pretty good early on because obviously he birdied the first three with basically 2 tap-ins. And then
he started out like 5 under through 6. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much done. But the issue with that golf course, as you know, is every hole's a birdie hole and really nobody's making bogeys, right? Like it just felt like all the chasers. If Knapp would have made one bogey, it would have been sweat-free. If Stevens would have made one bogey, it would have been sweat-free. But it wasn't. And all of them were putting exceptionally well with par saves, with birdie makes. Stevens got really hot on the back nine. And Kurt was still playing really well. The iron play was still tremendous. But as you know, with Kurt, he's going to spray a couple. And he did. It was just he kept them dry this time. But it was a little shaky when he missed a 4-footer on the 71st hole because you never know what's happening on number 18. So
that's where the bogey came on 17. He missed a short putt.
He 3-putted. Yeah, I mean that hole was playing impossible. He had about a 65-footer, hit it to about 4 feet, missed it, and then still he just needed 6 on number 18, and then just hit a perfect drive. And he was so far down that he really couldn't lay up. He only had 5-iron or 6-iron in there. I would have just hit it into the grandstands. Like, I don't know, you just need 5, just get it over the water. And he kind of hit this spray cut that barely got over, and he ended up on a downslope it was a lot, but he played awesome all weekend. Really good to get a win across the line.
Well, that was the reason why we've been so in love, or at least you haven't lost as much money on Kurt as I have over the years. But it's been that middle to long iron proximity, right? Is that he has just always popped from basically 150 yards plus. He has shown an ability with those middle to long irons, which I would argue is up there as if you can do that, it's one of, along with distance off the tee, which he also checks the box of. It's one of the most important bankable skills in golf. So this was a guy that I kind of said to myself early in the season, I'm just in no matter what. And he's generally at low enough prices But I've had weeks where Kitayama has murdered me too. That's why the journey has been filled with so many up and downs, is that there were people in the Discord by there was a stretch where he wasn't playing so well, and people were really like, dude, what are you doing with this guy? And I was like, no, one more week, like a drug addict going back for one more. But then, the past couple of weeks, he really started to turn it around. He was massive for me at the John Deere as well, finishing top 5 at the John Deere as well.
He was the betting favorite at Barracuda. This is not right. This is not coming out of nowhere. So,
well, was the other thing I promise we're not going to spend that much time talking about 3M, but was the golf course, because scoring average wise, I didn't get a chance to get my eyes on the tournament for 1 second the entire week. I was just playing golf. And the scoring average was even a little bit lower than I thought. We talked about it was softer this year. So we knew that it was going to play easier and be a little bit more of a putting contest with an easier scoring average. I didn't expect it to be like minus 2.5, which it was all week.
It was exceptionally soft. It did get a little bit firmer over the weekend. And then late on Sunday, we finally got some wind, right? But still, these guys were not making big numbers. They really weren't even making bogeys because the fairways are wide. A lot of water, but you got 50 yards. You're not going to hit it in the water very often. So, yeah, really, really soft. Not much wind until late, and greens were perfect. So,
what was going on with Akshay there? Because he really murdered me on Sunday, and it seemed like he kind of had the tournament in his hands heading into the final round. He was in a big DraftKings lineup for me with Kitayama, and then a ton of people. I felt like everybody in the Discord had the outright on Akshay as well, and he started 3 over through 5.
He couldn't hit a fairway. That was really the end of him. He just ended up in some really bad spots. I believe he lost 4 shots off the tee on Sunday, so
not good.
He literally couldn't get off the tee. His short game was bad. But yeah, flop lag week for sure.
Welcome, Dave. I'm heading over into your territory in a couple of days into Canada. But I did have a great Sunday with Saturday with an ISN subscriber from Canada. So you guys have been representing yourself well thus far. That remains to be seen as I head over to Toronto next week. But great week. Obviously, Kitayama felt a little bit more of a journey for me. It felt I was a little bit happier to get that one through the hoop than the average outright, just because it's been such a painstaking process with Kitayama. But it's been great. This last month has really turned a year that started off pretty slow by my standards. This last month has really, really turned things around. So let's keep our foot on the gas and keep going with Wyndham, man. What are any big takeaways for the golf course before we dive into this slate? We have
I think one of the golf courses
on this place.
One of the golf courses we know better than any, right? I think the player type is pretty clear. It's definitely more accuracy driven. Wedge play, approach play, probably the most important. But because the greens are so challenging, I do think you have to weigh and look at putting, a bit more. I think when you look at the winners here and really look at the guys who haven't played that well here historically, but feel like they might be a good course fit, it's probably because they struggle on and around these greens.
Right.
And so that's something that I'm definitely weighing, right? That's going to talk me off of guys like Griot and like Gary Woodland, who I really like this week, but I couldn't get outright because I just don't trust short games here.
You know what's interesting and leaves me feeling pretty optimistic for Wyndham is that, were you on Rye last year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't hit, but I should have been. I was going back whenever I do my research for the week. I kind of like to also go back to the prior years and see what I wrote and who I was on and what my model spit out. And I should have been on Glover and Tom Kim as well. Rye, I was on. But the last 3 years at this event, and I wrote about this in my article, this does not happen as much as you would think in golf, where like the thing that should happen actually plays out. In the last 3 years, this golf course has been incredibly predictive in terms of like, if you follow the very simple formula of finding the player that is in good form right now and most reliably just hits fairways and is a great short to middle iron player. Aaron Rai, Tom Kim, and Lucas Glover, by the way, all like the past 3 years, they all ranked first in approach. Like it's just straight up spike approach golf course, hit your fairways, spike with your irons.
And thank you for jogging my memory, because apparently I've hit the last 3 winners here. Didn't even realize that.
For the last
3 for 3.
What happened to Kisner year, man?
I had Adam Scott in the playoff.
Me too.
Who we will be going back to today, by the way. So, yeah, I guess Wyndham's really been a very predictable golf course for us. And like just look at the winners. You know, you look at Posted and Snedeker and Webb and Siwoo Kim and Henrik Stenson. Like, it's pretty obvious what you're looking for here. So
why do you think that is? Do you think there's I have like a little bit of a theory, but do you think there's a golf course reason for that, or what?
Well, so I do think the rough is a little bit more penal than we give it credit for.
Absolutely more penal. It's one of the highest missed fairway penalties on tour.
Yeah, and I think we don't talk about that enough, because when you talk about, I assume this is the draws, right? Like we talk about the greens and things like that. And so I think, you know, it all kind of compounds, because then you can't fire at the right quadrants. You're missing short-sided. The short game becomes really important. So, yeah, like it's obviously a birdie fest, but I think there are bogeys out there here.
Yeah. I think one of the other reasons too is like, if you hit the fairway here, like if you are able to identify the players that hit the fairway at the most consistent rate, that generally has a very clear positive correlation with spiking on approach. So like, it's very easy to spike on approach on this golf course and gain strokes on approach on this golf course if you hit a lot of fairways. And generally, it's been somewhat, at least compared to other PGA Tour golf courses, easy to figure out the players that are going to hit the fairway. The only question I would ask you is this a type of golf course where you really are strongly trying to identify players that are really accurate off the tee? Or are you more so saying pretty much anyone can just club down and hit the fairway if they need to? And I'm actually going to devalue off the tee, because I've heard differing opinions and theories on both.
So it's a good question. I would say first and foremost, I always view this golf course as approach and putting, right? So like,
agreed.
I'm going to start there. But I think when it comes to the off the tee game, I am probably going to weigh accuracy a little bit more than I do just standard strokes gain off the tee. But yeah, irons and putting here is kind of just the start and the end for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. We're on the same page this week, which is general. I mean, who knows? Yeah. I feel like last week outside of Kitayama, we were kind of not aligned.
Good, that's perfect. We hit the winner.
We were aligned on the one that mattered. Yeah, we were aligned on the one that mattered. I'm generally with you. I mean, I was looking at if you go down and filter for golf courses that are less than driver. And like, I look at driver usage percentage a lot. The average driver usage percentage on the PGA Tour is around like 70%, right? So, you know, if you're using your driver on 70% of the par fours and par fives, that's like an average PGA Tour golf course. It's like 61% at Wyndham. So it's a lot. It's a golf course where you really don't have to use the driver or rely on it all that much. So I do actually think that there are going to be cases, particularly in DFS, where you can find some opportunity on players that, they may get super loose with the driver. I mean, Grayserman is a good example of this, right? Like Grayserman was able to club down and find the fairway for the most part until it mattered on the most important hole of the golf course. But I do think every year you can always find like a low owned bomber type that does show the ability to club that. Like, it's interesting. If you look at some of the shortest, driver usage percentage was down to like 52% last year. So it's literally a coin flip whether you're hitting driver on a hole or not, which is wild in today's PGA Tour standards. Do you know who over the past 3 years who's been the best on low driver usage golf courses off the tee?
Is he in this field?
He's in this field. Yes, I have the.
I was going to say this feels like a Patrick Cantlay stat or something. But,
right.
I'm going to say Matsuyama.
Yeah, it's Keith Mitchell, which I mean, it does make some sense because on a lot of short positional golf courses, it's still very easy to gain strokes off the tee with distance if you hit the ball relatively straight. But there's something about this golf course that really takes driver out of a player's hands. It's claustrophobic. It's really the Bermuda rough. Bermuda rough in 2025 is really one of the last remaining things that we have outside of just putting water everywhere that truly strikes fear in professionals' eyes. I mean, you understand it playing down in Florida. There's nothing more difficult, in my opinion, than thick, sticky Bermuda rough where it sits down and you get kind of that crow's nest around the ball.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it not only impacts the iron play, but it impacts the around the green game quite a bit. And when you get greens like this, right, where they are very, very undulating, you can get a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, I kind of like what you said about there's going to be one or two bombers who pops. I will talk about one later.
I was really teeing you up for Cameron Young there.
Yeah, we're going to get there, but yes. And I had honestly forgotten that he shot 62. He was tied for third heading into Sunday here last year. So we bet Cameron Young, of course.
Let's dive into the slate because there is let's just combine 9 and 10K.
Okay.
There's 12 guys. Starting with Matt Fitzpatrick. Gosh, I remember when Fitz was low owned 7,400 in signature events. Those days are long and gone, my friend. Fitz has now 3 top 8 finishes in a row with one of them.
We said so. We saw this coming. The iron play was back, the speed was back, and he just kind of hadn't put it all together. But Quail Hollow, Travelers, Rocket, Scottish Open. He's just been awesome. I definitely agree that he'd be the favorite here. And pricing is, again, so soft. There's so many value plays that I'm going to have a lot of fits this week, I think, for a number of reasons. But he's by far my favorite play up here.
So if you were ranking the 3, you'd go Fitz, and then how would you delineate between Ben Griffin and Keegan?
So it's tough because Ben Griffin's clearly fallen off a little bit, but this is a prototypical Ben Griffin course. We've seen it. I'd probably keep him in that order, I would say. So Fitz, Keegan, and then Ben Griffin. And I think ownership will kind of reflect that. I expect Fitz to be the highest owned this. Well, I guess we'll talk about Aaron Rai because he got nuked again. But I think of these 3, Matt Fitzpatrick will be the highest owned.
Did Aaron Rai get bet hard?
Well, he did, and then unsurprisingly got absolutely obliterated by Data Golf. Again, the number 1 value. Their course fit adjustment basically doubled his win rate, and they made him the favorite. So.
Oh my gosh. Let me, I'm actually going to do a live reaction for you on the pod because I actually haven't looked at what Data Golf has put out yet. What are you going to say about Aaron Rai? He's probably the most accurate player on the PGA Tour. The same thing happened to him when we went to, in fact, it was Colonial and it was one other event where they had him as the number 1 value play, and he really stunk those weeks.
So they have him 9th in their baseline model, but then when you adjust it for course fit, he's 1st. So that tells you just how much they're emphasizing accuracy with the off the tee game this week. So
I agree. There's such a clear correlation for if you're able to. Now, what's interesting and worth arguing about is, and this is why the next step in data is club selection data. I've been pushing for this for a while, and hopefully we can get there with BetSperts, just spending money all over the place. But the argument that is interesting to me is, players who are inaccurate with their driver, how much should we value their ability to just like literally hit iron off the tee and find the fairway? Or, I mean, do we really need to be emphasizing players that we just know are accurate players, whether they have a driver in their hands or not? But I knew that Aaron Rai, I mean, he was 33 to 1 last year, was a huge community win. And I don't know, I'm certainly not going to bet him now to go back to back, but I can't say I'm massively shocked from a course fit standpoint. I mean, the only thing that I would say you might be able to catch a little bit of value on, I mean, I'm not sure about the betting market. I think his outright number's fine, but at ownership as well. Like Hideki's a good example of a player who can get really loose off the tee and be a bad driver of the ball at times, but has also had like a ton of success on short positional club down courses. Like he often gains strokes off the tee every year at TPC Sawgrass.
And I was close. He would have been probably the guy that I bet in this range. I started with Adam Scott, but his short game has been so bad at this golf course pretty much every time he's played it. It definitely gave me some concern, but like his off the tee, his ball striking, he loves this golf course from tee to green, just can't chip and putt. So
my guy, Albert, who I actually love, he's a great Discord member, asked a good question here, which, I mean, this has basically been our conversation, but if you had to choose between first or second, if I just gave you one, what would you choose?
I'm choosing second. I mean,
I'm still choosing second because you can still hit wedges here from the rough. It's just a lot harder.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, there are going to be plenty of opportunities where you're clubbing down. So I'm just assuming you're going to be playing out of the fairway more than not.
Okay. So it seems like Fitz is your guy at the top. Do you have like a ownership cutoff point with him, or are you just kind of like all in on Fitz?
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, I think for me, it's going to be tough to spend money. A lot of the guys who I like, who everyone likes, are in the 8s and 7s. I'm just going to have enough money to play Fitz in pretty much every lineup, and he's my favorite. So I don't think there's any cutoff. I'm pretty much going to play him on every team. And I really don't have a lot of interest in Keegan, Ben Griffin, or Hideki necessarily, or Speed, or McIntyre. So, yeah.
Jojo FPS, thoughts on the Gotterup tweet, Andy? I mean, what are you going to do, man? Golf Digest, I love those guys. I've been with them for basically since I was an intern 5 years ago. But I don't know why they call their contributors experts. They do it on their experts on their betting panel as well. And I am not an expert at anything. So I wish that they would not refer to us as experts. But that apparently is what gets the most clicks. That word has done well on social media for them, and it did its job in the past. So what are you going to do? It's a 10-minute article that I have to write on Monday. So, I mean, the pick was wrong. So fair play.
Yeah. I mean, he was spraying the ball quite a bit. He putted really well. So
are we talking Gotterup now?
I don't think you were that wrong on it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, what are you going to do? You're supposed to write one sentence on the guy. Like,
yeah, I was off him too. So no worries.
SI does the SI gives the expert tag as well. They do it for their betting panel also. And like our picks on the betting panel are horrible too. Like it's impossible to pick. It's hard enough alone to pick outright with a full betting.
It's nice to take the attention off of Chris Powers, who usually seems to be the one who gets himself in a shitstorm. So,
but anyway, yeah. Well, I mean, also, I hope that he checks out the most recent pod that I do, because I've definitely been singing his praises for the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, back to Wyndham. So 9. Talk more about the guys in the 9s. You like Fitz up top?
Yeah, I do. And so again, I feel like Aaron Rai is the obvious choice here. I really don't have much bad to say about him other than his form has dropped a bit and he's going to be arguably the chalkiest golfer on the slate. You talk about the accuracy and the iron play, like it doesn't scream Jordan Spieth to me. Obviously still recovering from the wrists, still recovering from, I think he had a second child. Is that right? Recently. So off of Spieth, I guess if I had to pick one more here, like I'd go back to Akshay. Even though he's missed the cut all 4 times at this golf course, like I feel like the signs are there with the iron play and really off the tee too, except for one round yesterday. So yeah, I guess for me, Fitz, Ryan, Akshay would be the 3 that I'm playing up here.
I would probably go. Where did the pricing go? I don't love this range, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like we didn't talk a ton about Keegan, but I might be a little bit higher than you are on Keegan. And I like a lot of the guys in the 8s more than I do the guys in the 9s. Like I'm not a huge fan of Hall and Knapp at 92 and 91. I just don't think that they are traditional Wyndham guys. Like I know that Hall particularly can get super hot on the greens and totally win this golf tournament with his putter. I know Joanne in the chat here seems to love Harry Hall. I know the Wyndham prototype that I'm looking for every single year here. It's Tom Kim, it's Aaron Rai, it's Lucas Glover, obviously. And guys like Jake Knapp and Harry Hall. I mean, who knows? Maybe Jake Knapp is this year's Grazerman.
Yeah, it could be. On Keegan real quick, who do you think he plays with this week?
Oh, you think they're going to put the tee times? You think they're going to put him with Ryder Cup perspectives?
I'm going to say Spieth and Kitayama is going to be my guess. That Kurt has no chance of making the team. I just think it's good.
That's absurd. Like I'm the biggest Kurt Kitayama fan that you are going to find. He has no business being in a Ryder Cup conversation. None.
I'm praying he's playing with Cameron Young for 2 days because I need that content. I need that hope.
Tony asked the question, are Knapp and Hall accurate off the tee? I don't think so.
Yeah, but Harry Hall is more accurate. Knapp is not accurate, but again, like you talk about how many drivers is he going to hit here? He's got a mini driver that he hits quite often, but no, he is not accurate. Hall is way more accurate than Knapp.
I mean, that was a fade. That was another fade that I straight up got wrong last week as well. My numbers don't like Jake Knapp. He can't hit fairways. But last week, I mean, I haven't even looked at his stats from last week. Was he just making everything, or like was he starting to drive the ball a little bit straighter as well?
He drove it better for sure. It was the best week he's had accuracy wise since PGA National.
He drove it really straight, dude.
Yeah, since PGA National. Again, I think a lot of that was the mini driver. A lot of it is just these fairways are pretty wide, but he played out of the fairways for the week. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to be a short-term data versus kind of your long-term baseline. In those situations, I usually tend to, for better or worse, go with the more long-term baseline. I'm not sure that I'm totally sold that Knapp has just figured out his accuracy woes completely. So he's probably not a player that I'm going to have a ton of interest in 9,100. I'm not sure I have a ton of confidence in him.
I'm with you there. Yeah.
That performance at a golf course that is highly, highly accuracy dependent. Okay. So you head into the 8s here. Glover and Kitayama lead off the range, but who else do you like in the 8K range?
Yeah. So I think ownership wise, it's going to be Glover and Siwoo, right? So like if you're just looking at who's going to be the most popular, a couple guys who have won this event fairly recently, I would lean Glover over Siwoo. We just talked about this golf course not being a great fit for Jake Knapp. I would say the same thing about Kurt Kitayama. Like obviously playing really well, was absolutely dialed with his wedges last week, but probably not something that's sustainable here. So that gets me to Adam Scott. Absolutely love Adam Scott. Always thought he would win this event. He's come close twice in the last 4 or 5 years. Outside of the top 70, I believe right now. So obviously needs a good week. I was on him pretty heavy at the Scottish and the Open. He played fine at the Scottish, terrible at the Open. His ball striking was great again last week, although it was skewed by an eagle hole out a little bit. But yeah, just really like this golf course for him. Probably should have won that playoff in 2021 we referenced. And I think he's a good pivot off of specifically Siwoo this week.
I don't think Siwoo is going to be owned, man. I don't think you're going to have to pivot off Siwoo. Like, I like Siwoo as I was hoping to get Siwoo at quite a discount after last week.
Number 2 data golf value behind Aaron Ryan.
Fuck, man.
It's just it's super heavy on history and driving accuracy. So like all those guys, Bez, Griot, like
I love Bez this week too.
Oh, me too. I bet him, but I'm saying like he's going to be very popular this week.
Yeah, I was hoping to get Siwoo at a little bit of a discount after last week, where I mean he killed. Yeah. That was the play. I mean, in fairness to Goddard too.
Yeah,
because I really thought that I had something going there with Carson Young at 6.6, got the job done in my single entry. Patrick Fitchburn as well, playing Burns instead of Goddard.
Yeah,
and Knapp instead of Siwoo.
Yep.
Those were the two guys. And I thought coming in, as soon as Siwoo missed that cut, I thought to myself, okay, I'm 100% going to stick around for one more week because I always love Siwoo at Wyndham. And I feel like we're just due for a Siwoo win. Like he was a core play for me at the Heritage, and he played amazing that week. Like he was 54-hole leader, or not 54-hole leader, 36-hole leader at the Heritage, and then he fell off over the weekend. But if data golf is onto him, that's not great. Yeah, Glover they like too.
Yeah, Bez, Glover, Poston, like it's all those guys. So like I think that is going to be my determining factor, because like at 7,200, there's like 8 guys there that I could play. So like I'll be very careful about who I pick. Like I'm going to play Bez, I bet him, but maybe like Hoey, Noren, Putnam, Novak, just not going to play any of those guys, right? Like you just have to pick and choose the ownership there.
Yeah. Kind of an example of just like sometimes the popular consensus is right, and there's not really an angle to pivot off yourself. I would love to come up with a theory about how you could actually find an edge by going in a different direction when it comes to like the baseline skill sets that data golf is also highlighting, but that would be disingenuous, and I don't think the best strategy to winning me money. I don't mind Denny at 81. Let me ask you this question: between in the bottom of the 8s, I never play Fowler. Scott, I thought it was an inspiring sell, but I'm going to need to spend a little bit more time thinking about that one. Between Gerard through Sung, dude, I cannot believe Sung Jae is still 8K.
Yeah, it's tough. I think again he got buoyed here a little bit by the course history and the course fit. He had a run where he was like in the top 10 every year for 3 or 4 years. So, but yeah, he's just lost. He can't putt and he can't hit an iron. So he is literally the opposite of what I'm looking for here.
When's the last time you've played Sung Jae?
It probably would have been at like the Cognizant or API or something like that. Yeah. Something. Yeah. Early April, probably March or April.
Where do you stand on Clanton after last week? That was was another pretty disappointing weekend.
I mean, I haven't been in on Clanton much at all. I definitely don't. I mean, he played well here last year. I don't think this is a great golf course for him. He's definitely more distance and off the tee. He's really just been putting terribly this summer. I don't know what that is about, but he's been like Rico Hoey level bad of putting. So I'm with you on Denny a bit. Obviously, great golf course for him, especially with the emphasis on putting and accuracy. I do like Ryan Gerard. I feel bad that I picked the win at Barracuda because he was probably the favorite in that, or he should have been the favorite in that field. But he was putting so bad for months and months and months. And then he putted awful here the time that he's played here. And so, like, I don't want to believe the putting, which I think is really important here. But in a vacuum, I think this is a great golf course for Ryan Gerard.
Yeah, I could probably be sold on Gerard. I'm gonna have to see where ownership comes in here. Who do you think's going to be? Do you think any of these guys are going to be popular down here? Like, I ran a model for all of the golf courses that I think very specifically have a ton in common with Sedgefield in terms of, that prototype that we've talked about so many times. Accuracy off the tee, short to middle iron play, and putt. I mean, general ability to spike with your putter. Yeah. Denny was number one for me.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think any of these guys are going to be too popular because, again, like, I think it's going to be a lot of, Rai Siwoo Kim teams with a bunch of guys in the sevens and then one of the guys at the top. Like, I think this low 8K range, I just don't see any of them getting very popular. But I would say probably Denny is going to be the highest owned of anybody under 8,600.
Fair enough. Let's talk sevens. Lead us off with the Cam Young sell.
I mean, yeah, like you mentioned it. So obviously he had a bad few weeks after a great few weeks where it seemed like he had finally turned a corner with the off the tee game. The irons were coming back. He's been putting really well. I mean, really all year. So, like, that's a huge plus. And then just had 3 terrible weeks. So hard to take anything from that. But you did mention bombers at less than driver courses. He has top 4 finishes at PGA National, Innisbrook, and Harbour Town. So he can play anywhere. He finished tied for 22nd here last year, but he was tied for 3rd going into Sunday. Just putted really bad on Sunday. Really had a good chance to win. He shot 62 on Friday. So obviously can play this golf course. He should be comfortable here. Went to Wake Forest. And I caught a 66-1 this morning. He is not going to be popular this week in DFS either, just the way that I think builds are shaking out. So if you get a 5 or 6% Cam Young at 7,900 in a weak field, like, there's a lot of upside there.
Yeah, you know what I noticed and with ownership, because like Akshay, for example, so I think Akshay closed at 26%. And that was to be expected. Like, I know that we were gassing him up a ton. He was a core play for me. And he also got like heavily nuked on Bookmaker. The betting number went down. But I feel like on these weeks where it's underpriced, right? And you don't have a lot of options to play up top. There's always going to be a guy in like these mid to kind of, I don't know, I guess the 7.5 to 9K range ate up a lot more ownership than I'm used to seeing last week. And I think it's because you don't have that 11K, 12K golfer. So like, normally on most weeks, all of those like chalky popular guys that you see in the low 7K range, it's on a week like this, I think it's, again, you're going to have to avoid some serious landmines in the high 7s and low 8s. And we didn't even talk about, but like there were landmines everywhere. Like, I had a really good week in DraftKings and 13 out of my 20 guys made the cut, which is low for me. I shoot for 15, 16 out of 20 every week, but like Maverick missed the cut, Grazerman missed the cut. There's a ton of, I think this golf course is going to be a little bit more predictive without the water. But still, on these weak field events, like, I have no interest in these high ownership guys in the high 7s.
I'm with you. And so, like, I bet Cameron Young. I'm certainly going to play him, but I could make an argument that there is nobody over about 7,200 that you need to play in the 7K range. I could skip all these guys and feel pretty okay about it.
I think I agree with you. It's kind of
But the low 7Ks, under 7,500, I feel like there is, there's a treasure trove down here.
What about flop lag Davis Thompson? No?
I don't know. I don't know. Not for me. I mean, obviously, he'll be better on Bermuda, but he's just his short game is not good. I don't know. I just feel like he hasn't really contended in a very long time.
God, this range is just full of guys that killed everybody last week. I'm really actually interested to see how the field
who everyone's betting too. Like you look at these names here, like this is where everyone's betting. If it's Griot or if it's I've seen a bunch of Tom Kim. Poston will be popular this week. But yeah, now we get into the good stuff for sure.
I want to, before we get too far down into the names at the bottom, who's been popular this morning, because I told Andy, who runs the great golf tips checker account, we would try and guess the 3 most popular plays. I mean, I'm going to say Aaron Rye now by default, although a lot of people don't like betting somebody to go back to back.
Yeah, correct. Like I haven't seen a ton of Rye because again, he's still only like 28 or 30 to 1 most places. Yeah, so that one is a little bit low. I mean, I feel like it's actually mostly the long shots. Like I've seen a lot of Chris Kirk, who we'll talk about. I've seen a decent amount of Bez. Seen some Austin Eckroat. I've seen like the bombs on like Peterson and Lipsky. Like there hasn't really been like the guys at the top.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rye would probably be the one who I think is going to be the most popular.
Just tell us, Andy. I'm not going to be able to get it. There's also not.
Rio has been exceptionally popular too. Like
there's also not a clear option at the top of the board that everybody loves between Keegan, Hideki, Ben Griffin, Fitz. Like you're not going to see a crazy amount of Fitzpatrick bets this week.
No, because again, he's 20 to 1. So I'm not sure you want to go that direction this week.
Yeah. I mean, or Keegan though. No one's betting Keegan.
No, absolutely not. No.
Kyle bet Ben Griffin.
Kyle's a sicko.
Tell us, Andy. We're gonna move on to the low. Okay, tell me your guys in the low 7s.
Yeah. So I took a shot on Max Homa this week. I wanted the each way. I feel like he's a better DFS play than a bet, of course. But he gained off the tee around the green and with approach last week. Played well at the Barracuda, played well at the Deer. And so he's now strung together 3 good weeks in a row, made cuts, sort of borderline contention weeks. Look, he was 80 to 1 this morning, for a top 5 or something like that. I think it makes a lot of sense. At the same price, I think it's time to buy more of the stock of Jackson Koiven. He has now kind of gained his footing in these events. He finished 11th at the Deer, 6th at the ISCO. I think he could contend here. My only concern with him is he's not a good putter. And we talked about these greens a bit, so that gives me a little bit of pause. But then beyond that, really just the names we mentioned. So I bet Bez. I had to bet him last night. I bet Chris Kirk this morning. And I bet Austin Eckroat. So I just think you talk about course fit, you talk about accuracy, talk about guys who played well at a lot of the comp courses we're talking about. Bez, Kirk, Eckroat, all seem to make a ton of sense.
Congrats, Dave. You said that Nico Etch was going to be most tipped at the Wyndham. You are the most online golf participant.
That's crazy to me, by the way.
I have to be honest. I don't totally understand the Nico Etch thing. My numbers, for whatever reason, are typically lower on him than market. Like Kyle bets him, and I get burned on that sometimes. Like I think he's good. Like he definitely has spike ability. There's been times where Nico Etch has been randomly top 5 on a Friday afternoon, and I'm like, man, I didn't even consider this guy this week. But I don't totally see that this week, and I don't understand how he's most tipped at all. That's confusing.
I don't think that'll hold, but I saw PGA Tout had him as his highlight bet last night. So
we love
contributing a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. we'll go through some of these questions. Actually, did you get off everyone you need to talk about in the sevens before we do questions?
Yeah, I mean, so I do have I just want to say, I think you could play Gary Woodland this week. Obviously worried about the short game and the putting, but the off the tee approach game is back. It's great. He likes this golf course. I worry about the short game. That's all.
What about Tom Kim?
I thought about it. I prayed on it. Not for me. And I think people are buying back in this week. So like, he's not going to be like 2% owned this week. He's going to be played.
Yeah, agreed. STT Sports Network, back to the well on guys like Knapp, Wallace, Stevens from last week. I mean, Knapp, I wouldn't be going back to the well on. Wallace, I played last week, and I think so. Like warmer on Wallace, but definitely a no for me on Knapp and Stevens.
Yeah, I am with you. I would say, yeah. If I was going to play any, it would probably be Wallace, but I don't have a ton of interest in any of those three.
Okay, let's. One more guy. Okay, for me too, in the low sevens, you hit Bez already. That's probably my favorite one of the guys that you've mentioned and that we've mentioned. That was my first bet this morning.
Yeah,
I really like how Bez is playing. Like, I think he's sneakily playing a lot better than his results would suggest. And I mean, he did finish top 15 at both the Scottish Open and the US Open. Those are some proper tests. And it's not like this golf course is going to play firm and fast this week by any means. In fact, we'd even talk about the weather. I'm a bit worried that we may get some scattered showers and a little bit of delays, but we'll see. It's always Monday, as always. Follow along in the Discord. We will certainly spend time making sure you have the most accurate weather updates. But I just think that this is a great golf course that highlights Bez's abilities. Like, he's very, very straight. Like, I count on him to hit fairways. And whenever he loses strokes off the tee, it's generally not because he's wild off the tee. It's just because he's short, and that's not going to hurt him at all on this golf course. He's got 4 kind of middling finishes here. So he's played well here. He makes the cut here every year, but he hasn't really spiked or contended. And I just think he's one of those players right now that is kind of on the periphery of something really good. Like, he's playing kind of, he's doing the things that I generally look for in a player before they randomly pop off and spike and hard mix at a tournament. So, and then Eckroat was the other guy. I just think that he is a short positional guy. Like, I think that you're going to want to play him on these shorter positional golf courses for a while, man. He's super straight off the tee. There was a recent result that I was looking at that I really liked from him. Yeah, I mean, his accuracy numbers, he doesn't get talked about or thought about as like a total accuracy merchant, but he's really straight off the tee.
Yeah. And yeah, like, I think both of them pretty similar. He obviously won PGA National, which is an easy comp here. I mentioned Chris Kirk, and I'm just going back there. Like, Kirk has won
PGA National. You're really trying to get me on Kirky, huh?
He won PGA National.
I didn't play the first time.
Right? He won Colonial. He won PGA. He's won the RSM, which is kind of compy. Almost won a double, which is short. He plays well at the Sony. I don't know if he won there or he has a runner-up, but he's like just as accurate as Bez and Eckroat right now. And I think he has the upside. Like, probably should have won the Rocket if he didn't miss a 3-footer in the playoff. Yeah, I'm starting to love Kirk even more, but I already bet him. So.
Okay, finish us off with some gross names in the sixes. I have a few. Yeah. You're right. We're not going to tout Cooch unless you are. I'm not.
No,
I'm not touching Cooch. Give us the sixes and Joe asked about Thomas Rosenmuller.
I mean, Rosenmuller has been great, but he's more of a bomber off the tee, so just not what I'm looking for here. But yeah, like the two guys that we bet last night were David Lipsky and Adam Svensson. I think Lipsky was just, he's got a couple of really good finishes recently, and that was a really, really high number for him. I love Adam Svensson. You talk about the driver and the putter's been really bad this year, but he gets streaky with it. He puts these greens tremendously well. Like his best golf course on tour by far in terms of putting. The iron play is back to he's basically top 10 in the field right now in recent iron play. He has the comp courses as well, right? Obviously, almost won PGA National. He won the RSM. His Corn Ferry Tour win was on a pretty similar golf course, like back-to-back top 7 finishes here. He was 350 to 1. And so again, like, don't need to sell you much on a guy who was 350 to 1, but that was already down to like 150 or 175 this morning.
Yeah, you guys are crazy.
Yeah, we crushed it there. But just a couple other just kind of random dart throws down here. So I've seen some Paul Peterson love. Awesome golf course for him. I don't necessarily think he's that good of a player, but he has shown some upside recently, and he is an accuracy wedge player. And then last week we talked about Brendan Valdez, who did hit the top 20. Granted, it was chopped a bit, but he did hit it. For this week, it's David Ford. David Ford, he won PGA Tour U last year, so he's going to get his card through that. Really, really good off the tee player, but he doesn't do it through distance. He does it through elite accuracy. He went to North Carolina. He won on this golf course last year, I believe. He won the Valspar Intercollegiate, so he won at that golf course as well. Makes a lot of sense. His top 20 was like 9 to 1 when I looked this morning. So again, wouldn't bet him outright. I would play him in DFS, and I would bet a top 20, top 30 on David Ford.
Works for me, man. I don't have a ton to add yet in the 6K range. I'm a little behind on my normal research for guys that low, but I will say, just in terms of pure numbers, the guys that stood out to me. God, actually, that's interesting, Wyatt, because he was one of the guys I was going to mention. I think if there's ever a golf course on the PGA Tour that Zach Blair can compete on, it's this one. But I think he's got too much going on to be a competitive PGA Tour player against these guys when he's running Tree Farm. But
he's made 4 cuts in a row, which for 6,200, you don't need much more than that.
Nope, he has. You're right. So Wyatt, I'm with you. Zach Blair was popping for me as well. Victor Perez has been good for me. Yep. I mean, what's that? You're not about it? You're not Vic Perez has been
We've played a lot of Victor. Almost Victor Perez out a little bit because like we don't get the upside from him. Like it's like, oh, Victor's playing well again, and then he's like T40, and you're like, oh.
Dave, I don't mind Cole. That's not bad. Yeah, that's it for me. Doug Gim maybe 6,800. Carson Young, I probably will stick around for one more week on Carson Young just in case. He was good last week. I needed a little bit more than a T28, but he got the job done. And then I think Mac. Did you say Mac Meisner at 6,400?
Not for me. No, but I mean, yeah, look, one of these guys, it could be, like you said, it could be Blair, it could be Kuchar, it could be Zach Johnson. Like one of these accuracy guys is going to pop up and be in the top 15 this weekend. So I wouldn't spend too much time down here, but I would filter by driving accuracy,
Yeah.
If that's something you're doing. Yeah.
I did that and I got Zach Johnson too. So,
but Svensson for me is like the only guy that like I'm itching to play here in the 6K range. So
sweet RB. This was a phenomenal. I'm going to have to find somebody for you. Are you available next week?
Sure. Yeah.
We'll see if Rishi or Kyle can swap in for me. I'm going to be at Hamilton.
Where they play. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out. I'm super pumped for it. All right. Cheers, buddy. Let's keep it rolling. Well, I mean, we were correct about it last week. Who's the one name? If you had to get one name winner.
One name winner. I'm going to go off the board. I'm taking Adam Svensson. I should say Chris Kirk, but
I was going to say this. This is what we do in the Wednesday show. It's like your pick to win and then one long shot.
I'm taking those 2 long shots, and I expect one of them to be in contention on Sunday. So
Svensson, and who's the other one?
Kirk.
Okay, Svensson and Kirk. I'm going to say the 2 bets that I've made, Eckroat and Bezadenhout. Watch out for Eckroat and Bezadenhout next week. Cheers,
Good,
buddy.
they're both on my card too, so we're very aligned.
Oh, let's go.
See you, bud.
Let's go. Later.